traffic on social media. So a lot of this is going to have to do with around, I've been using a lot of video recently, since this is just, I like to say in my sales copy, a 5,000-year-old technique that we're reinventing, which is, you know, the thing called human connection. That's just pretty much about it, right? Everyone tries to overcomplicate it by these likes and shares. And I'm like, no, just looking for simple human connections. And that's just basically it. So what I have in here, I'll bring up my PowerPoint. Is there anything from both of you that you want me to kick off with, or anything else? Do you want me to just dive right on in? What works best?
Well, first of all, why don't you share, for those that don't know who Curt Maly is, share a little bit who you are, your background, and how you got into where you're at.
Yeah, be happy to. It's part of the presentation even as well, to make it fun and easy.
But basically, we'll shut up and let you do your presentation.
Why are we even here?
I was looking at a cup of coffee.
I woke up this morning like at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I tuned in and I watched you all, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was watching them at 11 o'clock last night. I hope my presentation can be really entertaining for everybody, so you all can get a bite to eat and get some coffee and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh my goodness, how do you go for this? So let me just kind of, I'll dive right on into this. And actually, I'm going to get a drink of water, because I jumped right on in, and I was all excited about this. And I'm like, all right, so you're going to hear me go silent for just a second. I'm missing one key part. Hang on one second.
It's okay. We'll go on a hunt with you through your house.
Going on a hunt with me to the house.
Look, here comes my coffee delivery.
I just need to get a little water as I sat outside, and this is perfect. Okay.
Actually, these coffee cups are pretty cool. They have little lips on them, and then the little sleeves are part of like the clothing.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's something kind of fun that the Hampton Inn's been doing. So all of our coffee cups are a different personality.
I love that. All right, as you are going to see right here. All right, you see the presentation?
I do.
You should be able
We're good to go. You just might
what
want
I'm going to do is
presentation mode. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and I'll turn my camera off, just because I'll walk around a little bit while we're talking. But if at any time you want to interrupt me, if you have any questions or anything else, you know, please feel free to stop me. By the way, you can hear me okay, right? I just want to make sure audio is good and everything else.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
You're good.
Yay. All right. So let's talk about 888 days in Facebook purgatory. Well, essentially what purgatory is a place, condition of suffering. And well, here's what ended up happening. I've had a Facebook agency for over the last 8 years. I think I've known Scott for 8 or 9 years, I think. I think I knew Scott actually before I had the ad agency, in the real estate days a long time ago. And when the market collapsed in 2007, 2008, I was selling real estate education, and that's actually where I met Scott at. He's like, no, I'm not interested in that stuff. And I'm like, but this is, he's like, wrong market. And you're right. I mean, the market collapsed at that time. This is when you were in the know stuff. And at that point, I met someone, and I met this guy who said, hey, Curt, can you maybe help out small businesses? Since my real estate business absolutely collapsed, I just started helping out some small businesses. And in a short amount of time, I started running some social media for some pretty well-known individuals, some people who made some really great money online. And then all of a sudden it became the San Antonio Spurs and some other celebrities, reality TV stars. Fast forward 8 years later, I am running a Facebook agency. I have 15 employees downtown Austin. And essentially, well, you'll hear in the story here in just a couple of minutes, is I actually got sued by Facebook, where I sat on the sidelines for 2.5 years, literally 888 days of purgatory. I'm somebody who speaks on stage. I have a digital ad agency. I train people on social media. And yeah, it's placed in purgatory for 2.5 years. And lots of people are always interested in that story. So Scott's like, hey, you should talk about that. And I go, okay, let's talk about being banned. And by the way, this isn't a bad thing. This is actually a really great story. So that's actually what I'm going to lead with. Is I'm going to tell a whole bunch of different stories. And by the way, I'm going to talk probably really fast, because I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. At the end of the presentation, I have like a little QR code, and it's up to you all, but people can get access to the presentation. I've recorded like 7 little audios that people can listen to. It's all free. There's nothing I'm selling. It's basically just if people are watching this and they're like, oh, I think I understand, but I want to know more, I'll give people access to the presentation and even some of the complicated slides that I have in here. There's some audios that go with it too. So I make it pretty easy. So, you know, take some notes. If you want the presentation, happy to give that to you. 2009, I ended up going to this live event. It's actually in Dallas, this motivational event with a bunch of other real estate investors. And at the event, basically, I got this idea. Well, somebody inspired me to record a video. So I walked outside. This is my very first video. It was just a couple of minutes long. It meant absolutely nothing to me. But what happened is it ends up propelling my career. And what I mean by that is it puts me in a situation right when I get outside of real estate where I meet an individual. And as I mentioned, is right out I got out of real estate, I meet an individual and I start marketing to small businesses. This individual, through social media, 5 degrees of separation or whatever, introduced me to somebody by the name of Mike Dillard. Now, this guy had made, I don't know, $7, $8, $9 million online by the time I had met him. I met him on this radio show. And like, I was broke. I wasn't underfunded in real estate. Like, I was broke. Like, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any friends left. I was what you call in the NFL club, right? No funds left, no friends left. I wasn't having any fun left in my business. And then this guy invites me over to his house and he's like, hey, this guy's Mike Dillard. He goes, why don't you meet a couple of friends of mine? And this is the night that he launched something called the Elevation Group. And this is something where I saw somebody make over $500,000, well, actually about $400,000 over the course of about 4 hours. And we're having a conversation like we are right now. And for me, it changed my belief system. It was one of those things like I've heard Scott talk about his note deals over the years, like hearing him talk about it, I'm actually going through some of those deals that makes it a lot more realistic. Like until you actually see it, like it didn't change my belief system. So this was a big change for me. And essentially what happened is I ended up filming a video with this individual. And this really starts to kick off my career, not just from just video ads, but it's just the personal human connection with video. So what basically happens is this. 2015, I am out there running social media ad campaigns, paid advertising for people like Lead Pages, the second most influential channel on YouTube, Six Pack Shortcuts, Evan Pagan, Mike Dillard, John Maxwell, Hunter Hayes, you know, country music star. I helped Dr. Axe make his first $60,000 online, San Antonio Spurs. So 2015, we're rocking and rolling. People are asking me to come out to events, speak in masterminds. I am going on stages. I am meeting these people at Facebook. We are dressing up a bunch of employees, getting office space. This is what you do when you have a social media company that's taking off. You do what you're supposed to do, at least what I think you're supposed to do, is you rent a limo, you take all your employees out, and then you get a boat, and then you have a boat party, and then you celebrate. And then, well, ever since I moved to Austin, this is where I'm sitting right now, is on my balcony. Ever since I moved to Austin, all I wanted to do is I wanted to watch the bats at that bridge that you can see down at the bottom right. And when I was 15 years old, I laid underneath that bridge, and I'm like, God, someday I hope I can live here. Well, that's actually a picture of my place, right? When I signed the lease and I got down, and I'm like, man, I took my employees out for a boat ride. We're growing. I got this amazing place. And then June 2nd, 2015 comes, and I get an email at 4:18 in the afternoon that says, hey, Curt, that ad agency you had? Yeah. Basically, Facebook sends me an email that says, Curt, you are not allowed to touch Facebook. You were not allowed to touch it personally, so I didn't have a personal account. Remember, I had 13 employees at the time. All the personal pages for all the employees instantly were gone. The fan pages were gone. The groups were gone. All of the high-end clients that we were running, their ads were still running, but essentially Facebook said, hey, Curt, you're not allowed to play on our territory anymore. And I'm like, well, I teach this stuff on stage. What the hell? Exactly. That's the way I felt. So basically, the great God of Facebook says, you have 12 hours to respond to our demand. And they sent it at 4:18 in the afternoon. So when you're being sued by God, I'm not really quite sure who you're going to call in 12 hours. Anyway, they land me in Facebook jail, and I'm basically stuck in Facebook jail where, by the way, Scott, you'll appreciate this. Maly Pittman took this picture. It was down here for F1. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Facebook has a booth for VR. I'm going to take my picture and I'm going to put this in every presentation that Facebook put me in a cage.
Yes.
Maly Pittman, if you ever tell anybody I took that picture, I'm going to kill you. I always So essentially what happens is I sit on the sideline and I'm benched. Now, I'm studying the game. And at the end of the day, I mean, Scott, I really admire this about you. Like, we've never really done business together, but I watched you over the years. Like, you're an ethical person who does the ethical right things. That's why you're still in business today. And basically I had the decision of is, well, do I want to hack the Facebooks and log in and try to dial in with this VPN, or I'm just going to study the game and just play by their rules? And the interesting thing is I was actually written about on Huffington Post, not like an article that I paid for, but somebody wrote me about being one of the top 6 Facebook marketers to follow. I couldn't even see this article because I wasn't on Facebook. Like, my friends at a party had to tell me, hey, Curt, look, this was shared on Facebook. I'm like, great. So what happened next? So full focus on consulting, no new online leads. Digital products we had were just referrals only. The agency has always been referral agent or only. And I ended up partnering up with, I like to say, my half brother. So by the way, I love telling the story. He's my real brother, by the way. And I don't know, Scott, if you met him for just a second at Traffic and Conversion. But basically the story is my brother's had an ad agency for 13 years. So Facebook's like, Curt, you can't touch it. You can't pay someone to touch it. And you can't have a third-party tool touch it. Okay, great. I'm going to sell my business. And they're like, okay. And I go to Maly Marketing. And they're like, you can't do that. And I go, look, the business has been in business for 13 years. He focuses on tourism all throughout Nebraska, and he actually does education in schools and does speaking locally. And they're like, okay. So fast forward, I don't know, a couple years later, my brother's speaking at an event, and one of my students in my digital product says, hey, Curt, do you know Steve Maly? Yeah, he actually runs the agency with us. Oh, and I go, can you do me a favor? He's giving a keynote, right? Yep. He always asks for questions. Can you stand up when he asks for questions and just say, hey, by the way, I have a question. Are you Curt Maly's half brother? You know, half as successful, half as good looking, half So about a week and a half later, my brother calls me and he goes, hey, asshole. And I'm like, yeah, because we do this all the time. And he's like, some guy stood up after my keynote in front of 350 people and said, hey, I got a question. Are you Curt Maly's half brother? And this is great. Every presentation I do from now on, I'm always going to introduce you as my half brother. So if you meet him, make sure you tell him the story. He always loves that one. So which is really, here's a picture of that because it's really good. What happened next? Here's half brother. There you go. Yeah, this is what I take a picture of and I share it online, which is great. All right. So what ends up happening next? I'm actually reinstated in September 2017. I end up writing a letter pretty much every 7 to 10 days to the corporate lawyers that basically just has an emotional appeal. Because there's no legal case precedent for the reason I was kicked off Facebook. I still don't know the reason to this day. Facebook said I had confidential proprietary information. Now you know as much as I do. So basically over the course of 2.5 years, I just wrote these letters that said, hey, I know that I can do right. I'm not going to log in illegally. I know that the reason that I'm here is because of a rogue employee, not my fault. The Facebook lawyer ends up being an advocate for us, and we get reinstated in 2017. But I physically can't turn back on my ad account. I can't turn back on my fan pages. I end up contacting the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, oh, geez, Curt, the people that put you here are no longer here. The people that even put just hang on a second. And miraculously, October 2017, they're like, hey, by the way, here's a letter which says, and I show everybody this, if I violate Facebook's terms of use at any time, it's a $40,000 fine payable within 10 days. Only when I get an invoice do I know that it's actually payable. And please, Curt, don't have any more close calls again. We wish you the best of luck. So when people tell me, hey, Curt, I got my Facebook account closed, I think I understand. No, I don't think you have any understanding because at the time I was even single. And you can't get on Tinder or any dating sites without having a Facebook ad account or without having a Facebook account. It's really quite interesting trying to date in that whole world. So anyway, I got sued by Facebook. Oh, you're a crook? No, I'm not a crook. Why don't you have a Facebook profile? No. Oh, this is a horrible conversation you get into. Okay. So fast forward today, what are we doing? So we work with companies like The One Thing, the book that you may see, the real estate, of course, book that you see in airports. We work with something called the documentary series called The Sacred Triumph. We work with Zero Shoes, which essentially we worked with a bunch of different people from Shark Tank, the world's largest paleo site. We work with a lot of New York Times bestselling authors. So what I'm showing you, any small business can use, any medium business can use, any high-end business can use, as long as the business is moral, ethical, and legal, and what I like to say is non-fattening, pretty much you can run it on the social medias. I'm going to show you how we do this. So the biggest thing is I'm going to ask people, open your mind to new possibilities. Basically, you say this subconsciously in slides to ask people to open their mind, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some stuff that goes against the grain of what we've been taught in marketing. But the Facebook big learning machine has learned so much more that people just don't realize. So just be open, right, to some ideas. I mean, if you're watching 27 hours of social media and greatness, you must be open to some brand new ideas anyway. So let's talk about this. What if the metrics that we think are important aren't? So what about if we think about these likes and shares, and if I can get more likes, shares, and comments, that's important, right? No, not at all. We'll talk about that. So what about if the new data that Facebook's been analyzing actually goes against our old methods that aren't working? And here's what I mean by that. Let's go through a little history lesson. Let's go through some comedy first. So in 1950, direct marketing came about. Been responsible for pissing more people off than any other form of marketing. Direct response includes junk mail, telemarketing, voicemail marketing, couponing, infomercials. But then in the 70s, this is where actually I worked for 15 years inside of call centers. I ran call centers all over the United States. So in the 70s, they witnessed this decade rise of, hey, if it weren't for interrupting more families at the dinner tables, I don't know what we would do. And then, of course, the 90s come when we have this internet spam, the Tijuana pharmaceuticals, the questionable male enhancement products that some of you may or may not have tested yourselves over the years. Then you have this 2010 Twitter. We were posting crap on walls, letting people know, hey, as cavemen, we painted on walls. Now we're going to post it on the interwebs. And now we have the Facebooks. Woohoo! That was a quick history lesson. Now, the interesting thing is with the Facebooks is at a place where it's just not a website where you can post some content. There is a lot of emotionally charged information here. So this is one of my favorite slides that I delivered in Vegas. And I just wish that there was a live audience here that I could see all the expressions of their face as I go over this next slide. Scott, you're going to like this one. Well, I want to talk about the seductive power of the Facebooks. Okay? Very important. Facebook has a very seductive power that sucks all of us in very, very, very closely. And I'm going to give you 2 words. And however you decide to feel about these 2 words is completely up to you. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about these 2 words. And we're going to talk about the seductive power of Facebook. King Trump. And the interesting thing when I'm in Vegas and I say the words King Trump, half the audience is like, ah! The other half of the audience is like, yeah. And all of a sudden, people start to freak out, and I stop, and I go, look, this has nothing to do about politics, and I'm going to show you in a minute. I said the word King Trump, and the reason I love to say those 2 words, it has nothing to do with my political affiliation, and I'll even turn on my camera to say this. This is really important. But what happens is as soon as I say the words King Trump, there's some kind of story that is played in your head that you're angry, you're upset, you watch Fox News, see Scott's laughing, he knows, right? Instantly, there's a story that forms in your head that I'm not even going to make up as great a story that what you have going on. When I say King Trump, like people get so angry or so riled up, and I'm like, he did exactly what you wanted to. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how someone became elected president, and well, you can use the exact same thing too. So without getting too much into Cambridge Analytica, this whole thing that you see in the news that I call propaganda, news information, marketing, news, whatever. Basically what happens is there's these 2 kind of data geeks, and they're like, hey, look, we're going to send out the surveys, and we're going to ask people to take a survey, and we're going to match up the data. So keep in mind, Facebook already had the data. So Cambridge Analytica gets this thing called psychographic data. Let's not be confused. This isn't that hard. What basically happens is Cambridge Analytica can tell from a very simple questionnaire. They can tell if you like certain things, if you shared certain things. So for example, men who liked the cosmetics brands MAC were slightly more likely to be gay. One of the best indicators of heterosexuality is liking Wu-Tang Clan. Okay, that's a little weird. They can figure out if you like 68 different things on Facebook, they can predict within 95% accuracy your skin color, 85% or 88% sexual orientation, 85% your political affiliation. So Facebook already had this data. Now people are like, wait a minute, they were able to prove what? Well, that's the reason you see the fallout with Zuckerberg. Because essentially what happens is Trump tests over 170,000 different variations of ads that are very emotional, very specific to very specific people. Now some news comes out, i.e. propaganda, that says Trump pays more for his ads. No, the way that he spent his money, he spent more on his ads. Hillary Clinton did this massive, hey, let's get out the vote to let everybody else know what's going on. One person did the conventional way, one person did the unconventional way, and I don't know about everybody else besides politics, but if you look at election night, I'm pretty sure you look at Trump and Melania's face of being like, oh shit, it actually happened. Right? So now Zuckerberg's in front of Congress because if you think about it, it's like, wait a minute. Are you saying that your algorithm influence elections, religions? Wait a minute. Was the fall of certain governments because of, well, you got this big fallout where all of a sudden now, like ManyChat, for example, for chatbots, Facebook's like, okay, look, anybody who has access to our data, we're cutting it off at the knees. We're going to research to figure out who has access to this data. Well, I started off we're going over a social media presentation, so why are we so deep into the data? Well, because if you really see how this data works, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, it's going to break a bunch of these kind of other traditional thoughts away. And here's what I mean by that. Because a lot of people are like, oh crap, the sky is falling. The cost of Facebook ads are going up, and you guys have probably all seen this. If you're watching this, my engagement's going down. My cost is going up, my engagement's going down. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Well, here, of course, because some inspiration hides in some of the strangest places. Great. So here's what I mean by that. Is, first of all, and I just made it, I was actually just making a small video about this right before we got online, but here's a way, by the way, on your end, can you see the camera when I'm moving it around with your images? Do you see that? Or when you're looking at the presentation?
You see the arrow, yeah.
Okay, okay. But do you see the little video of yourselves down in the right-hand corner or not at all?
We're at the top, though. We're at the top of the video.
Okay. So what I see on my end, I'm trying to move around so no one else sees it, but no one else can see it. So now I'm just sounding like I'm crazy. Okay, great. So what happens is here's a way to reverse engineer ads right now. And by the way, they just rolled this out before I had a chance to update my presentation. You can even go to my personal fan page, Social Media Ad Genius. I'll show you that in a little bit. But you can actually see the ads that we are running live at any time. You can go to someone's fan page, and on the left-hand side, you can click ads, and you'll see the ads that people are running. Well, let me give you an example. When you see an ad running in your newsfeed, what I want you to do is I want you to click on those three little dots. So maybe you see a real estate ad, right? Maybe you see, I don't know, a broker ad. Maybe you see a Tony Robbins ad. And you're like, okay, why are they targeting me? Well, you click on those three buttons, and then it's going to pull up and it's going to say, okay, why am I seeing this? You want to click on that. Click on why am I seeing this? It's going to tell me, Adam loves Austin's realtor. They want to reach people in Austin, Texas between 25 to 56. Okay, well, that's who I am. Well, let's see, manage your ad preferences. Wait a minute, this is how Facebook's tracking me. And notice this doesn't say, hey, look at all of your interests. This says your top interest. So now what happens is your interest. Now I can see why Facebook's targeting me. So for instance, Dave Asbury, he's into the health space and we have a bunch of health clients. Well, I'm really interested in the stuff that Dave's working on. So take a look at Dave. Look at this. View ads with this interest. Now it shows all the ads that people are running towards Dave Asbury. Now, Facebook's not going to show you the profitable ads, but they're definitely not going to show you ads that are illegal and should not be running. So this should give you some really good creative ideas of, well, what are other people doing? So besides what other people are doing, these are the political ads. This is what's now just being rolled out for all ads. Hey, why is this ad playing? Tell me more about this ad. Oh, I can see that this person's been running this ad since June 21st, 2018. Well, if it's June 30th, the ad must be working if they've been running it for the last 9 days. Now you can literally tell what ads other people are running that are active and actually working. That's pretty big. There used to be a software that you could see this from Google that cost you $500 a month. Now it's free. All right. So we're talking about all these ads. We're talking about, okay, there's all this complicated algorithm stuff. Well, there's over 150,000 different ways to figure out the algorithm. So when someone's like, can I get more likes on my post? I kind of roll my eyes and throw open my mouth a little bit because that's one out of 150,000 different things. And I'm like, oh God. Okay, cool. Let's go over this stuff. So the big question is, how'd they do it? So I couldn't write better sales copy than this. literally what ends up happening is we have a Facebook rep, and this Facebook rep gives us for my brother now, and this Facebook rep gives us information, and I always want to make sure the information I share can be public. So what I do is I do a reverse lookup on Google for one of the slides that the Facebook rep gave us. Turns out I find this slide deck from the head of someone in Warsaw, Poland for Facebook, that basically there's only 150 people who have seen this slide. Well, now a lot more people have, because I've been talking about it a lot over the last couple of months. But essentially it's this. This is why I said open your mind before. There is no correlation to likes, shares, and engagement that leads to ROI. Nothing. So when a client's like, Curt, I want more likes, shares, and engagement, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. You want another little toy you can play with, but it doesn't mean it's going to make you any money. But if that makes you feel better, that's cool. But remember, more likes or shares don't lead to an ROI. Here's the other thing. Neither does a click-through rate. Well, Curt, I got 500 clicks on my ad. Oh, that's cute. Because Facebook Big Data says this is what all these little fancy charts mean up here. That you can have a 0% click-through rate or a 2% click-through rate. And we think as marketers, the more clicks that we get, the better. Facebook says, no, that's actually not true. People can recall your ad without clicking on it. They can be aware of your brand without clicking on it. They can be aware of your purchase intent without clicking on it. To be quite open with you, like I said, I've watched Scott over the years, a perfect example. I scroll through my newsfeed, and every once in a while we'll see a Facebook Live. Every once in a while I'll see an ad run. Every once in a while, and I very rarely ever click on them, but I know exactly what business he's in. I know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly what's going on. And if he runs an ad that says, hey, look, I'm looking for 3 new students, I don't have any question in my mind what's going on. I didn't have to click to see that, but I have the very last click right before I'm ready to do business. So 90% of purchasers never actually click on an ad. This is what we call that 5,000-year-old strategy of building a human relationship. Just because someone doesn't call you doesn't mean they're not building a relationship with you by the time they're watching and listening. So for example, people who actually click are 5.5 times more likely to click than they are to buy. It's like a window shopper. So if I'm only focusing on, hey, how many people liked and shared my post and how many clicks did I get, I'm looking at the wrong metrics. So, well, what the heck do we judge if we're not judging clicks and people engaging? So what we got to take a look at is this. This is what so many people miss, and this is what I'm really excited to talk to you all about today. By the way, am I going too fast? Does this make sense in feedback?
You're good. You're golden.
Good? How am I on time, by the way?
You're kind of getting tight.
How much time do I have?
Can you do it in 5-10 minutes?
Unequivocally, yes. That's why I asked. Perfect. All right. Because again, anybody can get the slides, and I walk through people. I actually have an hour-long video where I walk this through even longer if people want to learn more, so it's fine. Again, it's all free. So what we do is we focus on awareness, and what we do is this. What I tell people is like, look, if you're going to start running traffic to a site, just really make sure that your site's really put together, because all we're going to do is exacerbate the problem. What we really try to take a look at is before we start talking to people brand new, let's really pay attention here. So what we do is I just recorded videos. It's one of the easiest things to do, and I'll show you how. I want you to see this for just a moment. This is one of the most important slides out of the entire presentation. See, Zuckerberg posted this 3 years ago. Zuckerberg has basically shows this video and says, hey, look, you see those little 3 lines of code? Facebook can actually tell what's in your video in less than a second. If it's people coming down a mountain on a unicycle or playing underwater hockey, Facebook knows what's in your video, what's being said, what you're being taught, what's being talked about. This was 3 years ago, so Facebook knows exactly, well, who to put this in the newsfeed to. This is the power of Facebook is astronomically huge. So, for example, we have these 2 ladies. They have a company called Helping Hurting Moms, and it's one of my favorite stories where essentially they have a group that helps moms whose kids are strung out on the street, addicted to drugs. The moms feel guilty, alone, and ashamed. I don't know about you all, but you can't really start a fan page that says, hey, if you are guilty, alone, and ashamed when your kids are strung out on drugs on the street, you should like our fan page. That way, right? So, and I'm going to give you this exact structure too, but the exact structure we do is we run Facebook Live. This one, for example, is 10 minutes long. This one's been running for anywhere from $10 a day to $35 a day. Look at the 4.3 million views. These are 2 church ladies who put this together. This is the second Facebook Live they ever did. And basically, I'm not concerned about if people are clicking on their video. I'm concerned, are people watching it? Are people watching this 10-minute video 50%, 75%, 95%? Are they actually watching it? Well, here's what happened. From July 1st, 2016 to May 21st, or May 21st, 2017, so over a year. Oh, that slide loads a little slow. I don't know why that happens. They got 1.5 million views. By the way, this is spending literally $15 to $30 a day. People ask me, well, Curt, what happened to that video today? This is a video, because it's a video and it's relevant, it's been running since September 2016 for $15 to $30 a day. Now it has millions of views, and what happens is for just $35 a day, it gets thousands of clicks. But basically, and I'm going to round this two things out here, this is how we figure out our video views. Record not a 30-second video. I just did an interview with someone who's an infomercial expert. They did the George Foreman grill. It used to be a taco maker. They help find GoPro. They don't do 30-second commercials. They do 5 to 7 minute segments. What you do is you record videos and you run them as ads. So like Scott could be talking about notes for 10 minutes. 2 or 3 people click on the ad. Who cares? But you'd be surprised, for example, you take $4,800, that's what they've spent over the course of just 8 months. At 75% views, that's 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Wait a minute, it costs 34 cents to have someone watch them for 7 minutes and 45 seconds? Mm-hmm. When Scott talks about complicated note stuff, there's some people that love that stuff. We have clients that have an hour-long video. It costs $3.50 to have someone watch an hour-long video. So, do you want a website click for $1? Do you want a lead for $5? Or do you want someone who's done exactly what you've all done right now, is for the last half an hour, we're watching and listening and building a rapport. So overall, and I'll wrap this up, I got 2 minutes, which is, by the way, what I do is I start top of funnel. I start running cold market to the video like we see right here, which essentially is I'm running mobile Facebook feed. I'm showing people these 5 to 7 minute long videos for people to get to know me. And essentially it comes down to this. I'll kind of skip over this. I use these videos, I record videos to essentially build a relationship. And if you want to know how I do it step by step, is I build these 15-second videos or these 30-second videos. And without spending just a ton of time, the reason that these videos really work is because people get to really know me before I target them to my website. So at the end of the day, what I do is this, and this wraps the whole thing up. As I'm recording videos, I'm going to let these videos, basically, I'm going to target these videos, but even organically, these work as well too. But I'm going to figure out, is it more worth my while to have someone watch a video of mine? Is it more cost effective? Or should people be clicking on my site? If people watch my video for 5 minutes for $1, but they click to my site for $2, I'll just have them watch my video. So what I do is, this is the mathematical equation people can take a screenshot on, or I have a little PDF that they can download. I'm constantly looking at, are people paying attention to me longer with video because it's cheaper versus sending back the website clicks. And then the last thing that I do is I show people how to retarget, where essentially once someone sees one of your videos, they see your videos pretty much over and over and over and over. It's the exact same strategy that Facebook allows you, or that Facebook shows you to use. And I know I moved through these really quick. And the reason is actually show people how to do this step by step. And again, like I said, there's nothing to sell here, but for lack of time, is I show people this. This is my favorite slide when I go out. No matter what kind of marketer you are, and this wraps everything up, no matter what kind of marketer you are, one of the best ways that you can connect with people on Facebook. I love what you all are doing here today. Thank you very much for doing this. Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to answer any questions. But if you're sitting next to somebody and you're like, hey, we should connect on Facebook, don't do this thing where it's like, okay, how do I spell your name? What do I do? Do this. Pull out your phone, pull out your phone right now, for example. By the way, I do this on stage too. You pull out your phone, and then what you do is when you go down to Messenger, you'll see this, you click on people, and it's going to open up this thing called scan code, where you can scan pretty much like you'll see the presentation here. Or the other thing is you scan my personal code. So this is where you connect with me personally on Facebook, or if you're sitting in a cab with someone, this is how you connect with someone instantaneously in an elevator, because they're going to watch your Facebook feeds overall. And then if you want, it's completely up to you, is what I have right here is, if you guys have talked about any of the messenger bots, if you open up your phone to the same area and take a picture of this, it takes you inside to the Vegas presentation, so you can download this presentation. There's 7 slides that I went through very quickly here. that I have audios for that I walk you through it. And then I also have a free Facebook group where I recorded an hour-long video breaking all of this down. So again, there's nothing to sell here. There's nothing like that. Again, if you just want more information, so you're welcome to do that. But how did I do on time? Did I make the 5 to 7 minute window?
Perfect. Yeah. You're right on time there, Curt. That stuff is freaking awesome.
That's great. Great. What questions can I answer? How can I best help? Or do we have time, or should I just run and say good luck to the next presenter?
Because Henry, I'm sure he doesn't mind. He's probably taking some notes here as well, knowing Henry. We appreciate the best way to get for people to get a hold of you is going to Curt at blackboxsocialmedia.com.
Yep, you can just send me an email there, or I just make it really easy. You can connect with me on my personal page, or if you want to get all the other information and download it and go through it, this gets you to my Messenger bot, which essentially is inside of my fan page Messenger. So yeah, you can either send me an email, you can watch my videos, or you can connect on here. Either way, it's free and easy. Just biggest thing that I ask is when you implement, just let me know what you tested and what happened. Biggest compliment I can receive. So I just love to know, hear what you do.
Yeah, that's what's so great about you. Never really found out what happened, huh? With the Facebook, huh?
You know, the interesting thing is to kind of wrap that story up. So I ended up talking to the lawyer. So we fire our lawyers, and I'm only talking to just the Facebook lawyers. And the Facebook lawyer comes back, and they're like, all right, Curt, we're going to let you back on. Great. So what did I do? And the lawyer's like, Curt, that's not the point. And I'm like, not to know what I did wrong, or like face my accusers, or like, and he's like, here's the deal. What happened is when people years ago, accounts would get shut down. Scott, you may remember this. Accounts would get shut down, and people would come to me, and they're like, hey, Curt, how do I get my account back up? And I would say, okay, did you read the terms of use? Did you make sure you're doing these right things? Because Facebook will shut your account down and not tell you why. Let's just make sure you do these right things. Facebook's like, we didn't like that you help people get their accounts back up. Okay. And then you sold information that showed people how to run ads the right way to get their accounts back up. So, but I never did anything illegal. I showed people how to do it the right way. And then he goes, Curt, this isn't a discussion. But then you met someone internally at Facebook, and Curt, you exploited her young age to ask her questions that could help benefit you and your clients. How did benefit me and my clients get suspended off 2.5 years off of Facebook? Like, none of that stuff worked. And to be clear, I paid her $1,870 over the course of 3 months. So it's not like I slipped her a $20,000 bill to hit a button. What did I do wrong? And he's like, Curt, this isn't a discussion. We'll let you back on. Just leave it as is. So that's pretty much it. So what did I do wrong? What exactly happened? What was the perception? But I'm here today, and I started running some ads that said, hey, if you want to find out what happened to me with 888 days in Purgatory, it was really a great marketing message, and the lawyers never said anything. So it seems like everything's A-okay now.
Great stuff there, Mr. Maly.
Really great. Really
Good stuff,
great.
man.
I was very excited. As soon as I read your title, I was like, yes.
It was banned.
Well, hey, I want to say thank you again for those of you guys. We'll take some photos. We'll send this out to the people as well there. As always, guys, it's a pleasure to have you on. We've known each other for, over a decade now, if you think about it.
Yeah, it has been over a decade. Yes, sir, it has. Really has.
Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Enjoy your Saturday.
Saturday.
Enjoy
They'll blend together, I understand.
I saw your video from last night.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate you guys. I love what you guys are doing today, and I wish you the very, very best. Let me know if I can help in any way.
Thanks, Curt. We'll talk to you later, bud.
Take care. Bye.